Now that we are done with the map function, let's see another function, another tool that is very often used in functional-like programming in Python. This is filtering. So let me show you first the example without any special function. The idea here is that we have a bunch of values, for example, a list of numbers, and we would like to create a shorter list that contains only part of the numbers, for example, the big numbers, in which case, in this case, we decided that, okay, any number that's larger than 10, that's what we would like to get. And the way to do this without any special tools is to iterate over the numbers. So to create, first of all, an empty list where we are going to store these bigger numbers, then iterate over each number, and then call the function that checks this condition. Of course, I know such a simple condition we could put inside of the loop, but I'm already separating it because I think that it might be a larger comparison where you might want to put it in a separate function, and that you might want to reuse it. So that's the idea. And then if it matches, so if this expression returns true, then we append to the big numbers list the given number. And that's it. So this is the loop, and the function itself is, in this case, a really simple function, just returns true if the given number is bigger than 10. And that's it. But how can you do this in a more functional way? For this, there is a function called filter, which looks quite similar to how map looks, except the end result is of course different. It also gets a function as a parameter and an iterable. Okay, any iterable can be. In this case, this is a list of numbers. Calls the function, giving each value on its turn to the function, and for the values that are receiving a true return value from this big function, these values will be copied over to the left side of this assignment, so they will get into these big numbers. Now, as in map, these big numbers isn't a list itself. It's a filter object which can be iterated over. So we can write a loop that will go over one by one these elements, or we can just flatten it with the list function. Either way, it will work. So let me just fix this so it won't be this list. It's called filter with function. I go to this to the command line. If I run it, filter with function, then you see that this is the result. But if you change it a little bit, and instead of printing the list, we'll go and for a number in big numbers, we just print this number. And this is the same. And if, of course, it prints one after the other. The point here is that here too, the big function is only called when the iteration actually happens. So it's not called when we call the filter function. So at this point, we haven't actually executed the big function yet. The same can be done if the expression is simple. The same can be done also in line with a lambda expression. So now I don't have a big function in this special case. In these relatively simple cases, I can use a lambda function which is inlined into the filter. And again, this is not called until we actually extract the values. And if you're wondering what lambda is, then in the map part, in the previous chapter, basically, previous videos, we discussed what the lambda functions can do and what are they. So we can also combine these tools, filter and map, for example, one after the other. So here we have a list of numbers, and we would like to get the double of these numbers. So we would like to multiply them by 2, but only get the big ones. Okay, so we have these two functions here. One of them is the big function that returns true if the given number is larger than 10. And it also has this printing, so we'll see when these things happen. And then we have the double function that we saw in the map case. That two also that two prints that it's being called and the given value, and then returns the 2 times the given value. So we can do it one by one. First we call filter, giving it big. It's usually better to first call filter, because then it will probably reduce the number of items that we'll have to execute the map on them, because it's reducing the number of items. So we call filter with the big function and numbers. We get back an iterable, right? So this is not the list, it's just an iterable. Then we call map, giving it double, and this iterable, and we get back a new iterable. Still, neither big nor double was executed. I mean, printing it out. So this is the output. You see the first is we output the filter object, this one, then the map object, okay, this one, and still nothing happened. And now when we start iterating over the values, these double values, then it's calling filtering on one, but it doesn't call the double because it was filtered out. Then filtering 7, it's filtered out. So it's no call for double. Then filtering 19, and then calling double, okay, and then it's 38. So as you can see, we don't execute the functions until they are actually needed. And here too, if we have a condition somewhere in this loop that says the value, I don't know, is divisible by 17 or whatever you are looking for, then and then you break out from the loop, then you don't do any of the other executions. So this way you can stack one after the other these tools. Filter, map, you can have the same map, you can have several of these maps, several of the filters if that's what you need to do, and then create basically this pipeline to allow you to do some make some changes and filter out some of the values and delay this. So something that I think I didn't mention earlier, we can actually create iterables, and we'll see them later on. We can create iterables that are infinite. So for example, they will just return all the prime numbers one after the other, or all the numbers of the Fibonacci series, or whatever, okay? And of course you can't calculate them, so you can't convert them to the list. So if you call list on it, you will get an issue that Python won't stop, because it will just try to get more and more values. But you can use the filter and map operations on them. And then you will get back these instances, and then at the end you'll get something that you can iterate over. Obviously there too you will have to have a break, because you can't do infinitely this, but you can do all kind of operations on them. So last slide that I wanted to show you now is that we can also stack them together, okay? And that's what I was talking about earlier. You don't have to have these temporary variables that we had in the previous slide. Let me go back for a second. So here we had these temporary variables primarily, so I can do them step by step and I can show you what happens, but you can actually stack them together. So here we call filter, and on the result of filter, we pass the result of filter directly to map, and we can already iterate over this. So it's much shorter than having these separate functions.